Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of Milwaukee's small quick change twist release hole saw arbor. I'm about 10 years too late on reviewing this item. I guess I just had seen them on the shelf but kind of glazed over them because I'd always mainly use hole saws with the larger sizes with the 1/2-inch bore, and then with those you just end up using pin drive chucks kind of like these. This is a Milwaukee. This is one of their newer revision ones where they just threw a big chode of steel at it for reasons I'm not exactly sure. I kind of like the old American made Milwaukees. They're just more compact and a little bit lighter weight. And since most tool a lot of drills now, people are using these with cordless, that extra weight and length actually means something. So anyway, traditional style pin drives with larger ones like this, you put in the hole saw and then the pins drive into these holes, and so the hole saw doesn't get stuck onto the threads. Of course, there is one issue with pin drives. They are excellent. They tend to last a very long time. The issue is that there just is a bit of wobble with the hole saw because it just isn't quite seated flush and tight, and that's the nature of pin drives. It's designed to prevent it from jamming, so when it wears out you can easily just twist the arbor off and replace the hole saw. So there's been some other types of quick change, and I just had never noticed the Milwaukee. I did have this Bosch, which I didn't like quite so much. Now Milwaukee does have a 1/2-inch version. This Bosch is the 1/2-inch version. This is Bosch's idea of a quick change where you have these special collets that have to be screwed into the back of the hole saw. And the issue I have is you have to have a collection of these collets. Secondly, these collets still get jammed into the hole saws and you have to impact them out, especially with a hole saw that's been worn out. And they are pretty quick to take a hole saw in and out of this collet, but it does have just a little bit of play. It's not too bad. It's better than a pin drive, but just by a little bit. The problem is, once again, is you're just stuck with all these collets that you have to have in all the different hole saws. They do also make the center bit quick release. The problem is if you're drilling a deeper hole with a hole saw, you're going to have to pull it out and put it back in, and that promotes this bit to want to get pulled out and creating a hassle. And I just couldn't believe that I had never noticed the Milwaukee. Now this is a 3/8 version here. 3/8 24 thread instead of the 1/2-inch 20 thread, and that would be for hole saws that are about 1 3/8 and smaller. Although this Arbor was cheaper, and there is a quick little trick, is they do make 3/8 24 to 1/2-inch 20, these little super compact sleeves, so you can actually get one of these adapters and be able to use a larger hole saw with this cheaper Arbor. So I did want to mention that. They had these on the shelf when I picked this up. So I had to make you wait a long time, and I just don't know why I haven't seen this, but this is the most amazing thing in the world. It is also pretty heavy, but the way it works is just great. So it has a radial sprag clutch in it. That's the easiest way to describe it. That'd be the same thing as, say, on cordless drills here when you're tightening down the truck. What prevents you tightening it down from turning the gears and back turning the motor is what's known as a sprag clutch. I mean, and gearless ratchets is the same way, but they've done this kind of radially. And so how it works is you just put it on the hole saw, and it sits flush against this plate, so it's really nice. It's actually tight against the threads. There's no play because it's tight, and that's like one big advantage even over the Bosch. This is absolutely dead tight, rigid held hole saw. And then of course you're going to use it and it's going to get jammed in there. So all this is this collar, you just twist it and it's just like loosening up a chuck. You just turn it a little bit and the hole saw just comes right loose. And I'll show you what's happening here. I think I can just get it on the camera. If I press on it like this, if I turn, this little plate just drops down a little bit, and then when you let the pressure off, it pops back up. And so when you're tightening the hole saw, since this plate itself will not turn and it's in the upward position, you just put it in the hole saw and you don't even have to tighten it down. You just start drilling and it self-tightens, and then when you want to loosen it, it's just turn that a little bit and then unscrew the hole saw. It's absolutely amazing. Here, let me mount it up in the drill. Oh, I should mention real fast is that this new billet one that they pin drive is what's made in China. Surprisingly enough, what I'm reviewing here, the small quick change Arbor, is indeed American made. I was actually pretty surprised and glad about that. So as far as a little bit of speed, a tiny amount of speed the Bosch gives you, the whole dealing with the hexes is actually a big deal, especially if you're a commercial contractor. If you're a giant contractor like Lewis Crutch or somebody like that, and you're buying hundreds of these things, reliability and easy use. If you're having to drill hundreds of holes or a bunch of holes with a hole saw, or you're drilling through, say, stainless steel where it's just going to wear them out, you don't want to be dealing with having to deal with that hex if you're going to be replacing them. You just want to be able to thread on a hole saw and go. And then when you need to replace it, you just grab that and voila. Super fast. It's just unbelievable. This is totally wild, regardless of how much pressure you put on it. I'll do that, and I'll even put just a bit of torque on there. That thing's super torqued. I'm not going to be able just to pull that with my fingers, and then I just that easy. So sorry for the odd cuts. I'm working on that. So anyway, I couldn't believe I seen that. I had only run into this Bosch one, and pretty much I'd reserved myself to using pin drives, and whenever I would use an actual 3/8 Arbor hole saw, I just use one of the straight Arbors and deal with having to use a wrench to get it loose. But this thing is worth the weight and the length, especially if you are having to switch between various hole saws, and I certainly recommend the larger 1/2-inch version, because man, this thing really does work. I mean, I'm pretty surprised. This is probably one of the best ones that you can get. Just the way it holds the hole saw, just absolutely rigid and tight. I like the fact that it's still a set screw for the pilot drill, so it really won't get pulled out. This whole back body is just one billet piece of machine steel, so it's just nice, heavy duty, actually a proper Milwaukee accessory, and I'm just surprised. So as far as any possible quick change hole saw Arbor, these Milwaukee twist release quick change hole saw Arbors are unbeatable. I mean, I was looking at some online, and I don't see any others that are as easy as this is to use. This is just magical. I can't believe they figured out how to make a radial sprag clutch and integrate it into that. That's absolutely perfect. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.